The Palace of Holyrood House is the official residence of Her Majesty the Queen in Scotland, a royal residence for over 500 years and the setting for some of the most significant events in Scottish history. Charles II rebuilt the palace in 1671, but after the Act of Union in 1707, no monarch came here for 115 years. In 1931, it was modernised by King George V, and for the first time was given the official title of the Palace of Holyrood House. The Queen has visited the palace more often than any other monarch, and at the start of her summer visit, the forecourt is transformed into a crowded and colourful parade ground.
Guard of honour, well advanced. Left, touch. Guard of honour, shoulder up.
With the Salisbury crags and grassy slopes of Arthur's Seat making a magnificent backdrop, some 800 feet above, guests watch the enactment of an ancient ceremony, the presentation of the keys of the city of Edinburgh. The palace is much more than an historic building. It's a working palace, and for one day a year, the Queen holds an investiture for some 80 men or women whose awards have been announced in the birthday or New Year's honours lists. The administrative process behind these invitations is conducted at the Central Chancery of the Orders of Knighthood at St James's Palace. It's part of the Lord Chamberlain's office and is responsible for governing the orders of chivalry and maintaining the records of all appointments, promotions and deaths within each order. They also take the lead in organising investitures and the sending out of invitations, together with warrants signed by the Queen.
How many have we got then for tomorrow, Rachel?
We were 95 people coming today, but I'm afraid we've lost one. Mr Mason has gone into hospital, and so we're down to 94.
94. And how many guests now, do you think?
It's 279 guests.
279.
One gentleman is apparently slightly deaf, but I think he wears a hearing aid.
He's got a hearing aid, and there's no need for a sign language interpreter, is there?
No, not this time. No.
Well, I think that's it. I think we've covered all the points now.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Following the compilation of the New Year and the Queen's birthday honours lists, the details of the awards are first checked against records held by the Central Chancery before being sent for publication in the London Gazette. When the various insignia arrive from the manufacturers, each decoration is very carefully scrutinised for blemishes and then stored in the Central Chancery's vaults to await its recipient. The insignia brought up from St James's Palace in London are laid out, and final checks are made by the Secretary of the Central Chancery of the Orders of Knighthood, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Matheson. Meanwhile, the palace gates are open to the recipients and their guests. For most of those receiving an honour, this is probably the first and only time in their lives they'll be received by the Queen in the Great Gallery at the Palace of Holyrood House. The honours system and the concept of the investitures as we know it today is relatively new, given that the history of the monarchy spans over 1,000 years. Honours for chivalry have been around for centuries, but it was largely due to the Queen's grandfather, George V, who in 1917 established the Order of the British Empire so that honours could be more widely given to deserving citizens from all walks of life, men and women, for their contribution to the war effort. With the ending of the First World War and the armistice in 1918, the King extended the range of recipients to include those from the world of science, the arts and literature, as well as the voluntary and charitable sectors. As the remaining recipients arrive and their guests are seated in the Great Gallery, the new knights and those who are to become commanders of the British Empire are briefed in the King's antechamber. Their briefing is carried out by the Comptroller of the Lord Chamberlain's office, Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Ford.
I think the best thing I can do is walk myself through the procedure that you'll be going through, and we'll take any questions should you have them afterwards. The geography is quite sort of difficult to explain, but I'll try and set the scene from with my back to this cabinet here. If I can just sort of ask you to imagine that you're going to be at the head of a queue now, looking into the picture gallery. Charlotte asks you to go forward at the appropriate moment. Forward you go, come up alongside Gordon here, and wait. Wait to hear your surname. Surname is called. Forward you go. Forward you go to the point that you center yourself upon the Queen. Turn and face her, please. For the gentleman here, please, a neck bow as such. Ladies, a curtsy, and forward you go. Now, for one of you only, and that is Sir Lewis. Sorry, where are you? Thank you. For you, this stool will be in the way, sir. And for you, it's foot up against the left-hand edge of the stool in this manner. Take the handle in your right hand, down on one knee, and the Queen will place a sword on your right shoulder, then your left shoulder. There are no words said. There's no arise, Sir Hero, or anything like that, all right? Very disappointing, isn't it? But a touch and a touch, and if you could just move up to the left of the stool once she has touched your shoulders. And for everyone else, this stool will not be here, and you simply come forward in the manner that I've just walked until your toes are up against the edge of the dais upon which she is standing. Receive your awards, brooch, neck decoration, conversation, handshake, reverse. Very easy just to turn at that point after the excitement of speaking to the monarch, but just get back a little bit, dip of the head, curtsy, right turn.
There is no doubt that investitures are stage managed with military precision. Each recipient must be in the right place at the right time, be briefed as to what to expect when reaching the dais and what to do once the honour has been presented. The timing is well rehearsed and must be accurate for it all to begin at 11 o'clock.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and nice to see you here at the Palace of Holyrood House. You will probably have read on the inside cover of the blue booklet what happens during an investiture, but I thought it might be useful if I take you through it. Now, there are normally around 26 investitures held each year at Buckingham Palace, including several at Windsor Castle, plus one here at Holyrood House. Investitures are usually conducted by the Queen, as is the case today, and the music is provided by the string orchestra of the Band of the Guards Division under the direction of Major Douglas Robertson, Scots Guards. On your way in, you will have seen the High Constables of the Palace of Holyrood House. Formed in the 12th century, they are responsible to the Duke of Hamilton of Brandon, who is the hereditary keeper of the Palace of Holyrood House, for the palace and its grounds. Shortly after I finish speaking, a detachment of the Queen's Bodyguard for Scotland, the Royal Company of Archers, will enter and take up their positions. The Royal Company of Archers was formed as a company of archers in 1678 and was made the King's Bodyguard for Scotland by King George IV in 1822 when he visited Edinburgh. Their uniform, incidentally, was designed by Sir Walter Scott. At 11 o'clock, the Queen, accompanied by the Earl Peel, the Lord Chamberlain, and other members of the royal household will enter the picture gallery through the door on my right. Please stand when Her Majesty's party comes in. The orchestra will play the national anthem, after which you should please remain standing until Her Majesty bids you be seated. The investiture then begins. The Lord Chamberlain announces the name of each recipient who will enter through a door on my right. After they have been invested, the recipients leave through the door opposite and then re-enter at the back of the picture gallery to take their seats with you for the remainder of the ceremony. At the end of the ceremony, the Lord Chamberlain will come forward and stand in front of Her Majesty. This is a signal for everyone to stand while the orchestra plays the national anthem. Her Majesty, accompanied by the Lord Chamberlain and her household, will then leave by the doorway on my right. After they have withdrawn and the remaining officials have left the dais, please could you wait until the archers have marched out before leaving through the door by which you entered, and you can then meet up with your newly invested relations and friends. As a matter of interest, there are 90 ladies and gentlemen being vested today, supported by your numbers of 269, and the investiture normally lasts about 3/4 of an hour. Thank you for your kind attention, and I sincerely hope that you enjoy the ceremony. Thank you.
Finally, those gathered in the morning drawing room receive their briefing. Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Ford calms any apprehension and nerves with good humour and advice.
The investiture will start at 11 o'clock. It takes place in the picture gallery, which is the other side of the palace, and will go from here in groups shortly before 11 o'clock, and we'll put you in those groups in the right order, so no thinking at all required. And we'll take you from here through the various staterooms that mark this side of the palace, and we'll get you into the picture gallery and to a point where we launch you towards the dais upon which the Queen will be standing to give you your awards. I think the best thing I can do is to walk myself through the procedure that you'll be going through, and then take any questions, should you so have them afterwards. And I'm going to start this procedure, if I may, by standing with my back to this lamp over here. which pretty much represents a doorway that you'll enter into a much larger room than this, I might say. 260 or so of your guests seated in there, looking at a platform upon which the Queen will be standing. Members of her household around her. Central amongst them will be the Lord Chamberlain, the head of the Queen's household, the Earl Peel, will be making announcements over a public address system as to who you are, why you're here, and what award you're about to receive. Two people pretty central to your lives as you stand at this point. Directly on your left here will be a lady from the Lord Chamberlain's office, Charlotte Martin, and it's her job to release you at the right moment. So no thinking, as I say, no initiative, no thinking at all required until Charlotte releases you. And then there's a little bit of free thinking. And you're heading at that point to Lieutenant Colonel Gordon Birdwood, gentleman usher to the Queen, who's your last safe port of call, okay? Because beyond there, free thinking, as I say. So here we go. I am now representing you as an individual, and Charlotte will release you, and forward you go. You'll be getting a slight dogleg, a slightly greater angle than I'm presently walking, heading towards Gordon here. And when you get here, please, ladies and gentlemen, you ought to wait. You ought to wait with your shoulder against his chest, exactly in the manner that I'm standing in relation to him at the moment. And you're waiting to hear your surname to be called. Words about you beforehand, words about you afterwards, but it's your surname that's the trigger for you to move forward. If you miss that for some extraordinary reason, you'll certainly feel it. And forward you go. 3 or 4 paces that it takes to center yourself upon the Queen. Turn and face her, please. She being about 8 feet in front of you on that platform I described earlier. Gentlemen, please, neck bow. Nothing extravagant from the waist or anything like that, you know, just a neck bow. Ladies, please, a curtsy. And forward you go. Forward you go to the point that your toes are up against the dais upon which she is standing. Do not climb onto the dais. Yes, we've seen it all, I have to say. But toes to the edge of the dais, and she will then give you your awards. And during the course of that giving, there'll be a two-way conversation between yourself and the Queen. Comes to an end when she offers you her hand. Take it, shake it, remember to let it go, and go back 2 or 3 paces to the start point here. Neck bow again, curtsy from the ladies, right turn on this occasion, past a second gentleman usher who will be exactly in line with Gordon there, and he will be pointing, or you will then go past him and you'll head towards another gentleman who'll be dressed in green. He's an archer. He's one of the Royal Company, the bodyguard, Royal Company of Archers, and he will then be the marker of the route for you to follow thereafter, which is into an adjacent room where you'll meet members of staff again who will take the awards back off you. All very short-lived, isn't it, really? Back off you, box them up, give them back to you, and we'll usher you back into the picture gallery, give you a seat to witness the balance of proceedings. What else can I tell you? Handbags, ladies, we'll take those off you before you go through this procedure, and probably, depending on the quality of your curtsy, you'll get them back afterwards. What do we call the Queen? Your Majesty to start with, ma'am, as the conversation develops. All happy? Thank you very much indeed. Just before 11 o'clock, we'll start forming you up in groups and we'll carry forward. Thank you.
Royal Company, do your duties. Quick, march.
The investiture is a very special occasion, and those attending will take away an impression of magnificent sights and sounds that will be long remembered and talked about. Not least the appearance of the Royal Company of Archers, the Queen's bodyguard for Scotland, who provide a detachment for the investiture. The scene is set, the briefing is over, and the investiture is about to begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Honours and awards are not given lightly. They've been justly earned, and the investiture ceremony is the country's acknowledgement of that particular achievement. Sir Winston Churchill once said, "The object in presenting medals, stars and ribbons is to give pride and pleasure to those who deserve them." Many countries in the world today have honours and awards of one sort or another, but rarely is the bestowing of titles and decorations performed in such splendid surroundings and with such grace, style and ceremony. Clearly, an investiture at Holyrood House is a momentous day, and the Queen, well briefed on every recipient, also enjoys meeting those receiving their awards. Investitures like this enable her to meet exceptional people from all walks of life.
Margaret Mrs. Mullen for services to Dysart Primary School in Fife.
Investitures are traditional, and I'm always absolutely fascinated by the people who come, and all the things that they've done. One mustn't have a long conversation, obviously, because you never finish. The question you ask is what is you hope that you're going to get the answer that you want. Some say that this is for the people I work with. It's a representation rather than for themselves, which is also nice. This is also meant to be a pat on the back, and I think people need pats on the back sometimes. It's a very dingy world otherwise.
Each investiture lasts a little over an hour and brings together not only those whose achievements have been brought to our attention by the media, but also those who've not sought publicity but have been brought to the fore by the investiture ceremony. As today's investiture comes to an end, there can be little doubt that the day will have given lasting pride and pleasure to all.
It's been fabulous. We've had a really good time. We've been made to feel really welcome, and it's a really important event. I'm really pleased that my family were able to come and join me on receiving this honour. So it's been a fabulous day for us so far.
The fact that it was a Queen really just made the day. She was so nice, so down to earth, just very honoured to have met her. There wasn't anything that could have done better, I don't think. Everybody was very helpful, made you feel at ease. I just thought it was wonderful.
It was just an overwhelming experience, and it's wonderful to have been nominated for this lovely award, and I accept it graciously. It's lovely.
Just a proud, memorable day. Just lovely. Just something that you probably will never see again either, you know, so it's lovely.
It's just been so interesting, lovely to meet lots of different people and to meet the Queen. She's amazing. She has a word for everyone. She's got so much to do but takes the time for everyone. So it was very, very pleasant.
It just is such an atmosphere and you're coming up through this wonderful building with the tapestries on the wall, and we came through a room with a 4-poster bed in it, and you know, I'm not sure that you always get to see all those bits of it when you come round, so it's really special. Big treat.
I thought it was a really lovely event, seeing everybody dressed up. People had gone to a lot of trouble. It's a bit daunting, I must say, because you're trying to remember the instructions you've been told, and I'm not sure I got them quite right, but I think lots of other people were in the same way. The Queen took the time to speak to each person individually, asked them a bit about it, and just a lovely event overall.
Well, I thought it was wonderful because we not only felt very proud of our brother Colin, but we felt very humbled to see so many people who've given so much service where they live and in the areas that they serve. And it's very encouraging to see such large numbers of people serving in this way and being recognised. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience which will never be forgotten and truly treasured.